Hey there guys, so this World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight title fight between champion Yunier Dorticos and challenger Dmitry Kudryashov has been made official for September 23rd. I wanted to make a video about this fight sooner, but I wanted to hear where the location of the fight was going to be first, so I waited to make the video. And yeah, it's taking place September 23rd and it's going to be in America, unfortunately. The reason why I wanted the fight to be in Europe is so that I can watch it live, because to be honest, I really don't like staying up till 5 in the morning to watch fights, man. It just completely ruins it for me. You know, I like to watch fights, you know, around about 10, 11 o'clock. You know, when fights are on in the UK, and when Kudryashov fights in Russia, I'm usually able to catch the fights live on a stream, but unfortunately I'm probably going to miss this one. But whatever, it is what it is. It's still a good fight. I'll still be able to watch it when it's uploaded to YouTube and whatnot. So let's talk about the fight now. From the moment this fight was announced, I've favoured Yunier Dorticos to win the fight, and let's talk about why. Now, first of all, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Kudryashov was able to knock Dorticos out. Kudryashov is the type of fighter who, whenever he's in the ring, with the kind of punching power that he has, and just with the natural heavy hands that he has, you know, you could never be surprised by him putting his opponent to sleep. I mean, it's always possible. He's a very, very naturally heavy-handed fighter, and, you know, he's a knockout artist. You know, this is a guy that goes in the ring. He's not looking for points. He's not looking to outbox you. He's not looking to win a decision. Okay, this guy's never been the distance before in a single fight in his career. Okay, he's a 100% knockout artist. And when I say knockout, you know, he's not TKOing guys. Okay, he's not stopping guys on their feet. You know, more often than not, he's putting these guys to sleep, or he's beating them into submission. Okay, the guy's a seriously heavy-handed fighter. But the problem is, and I've said this in previous videos about Kudryashov, he's too heavily reliant on his power. Yunier Dorticos, to me, and I've been watching quite a lot of him lately, he to me seems to have very good boxing fundamentals. He also has very, very heavy-handed power. I mean, all you got to do is look at his record. He's only been the distance once, and he's knocked 20 of his opponents out. So clearly Yunier Dorticos is a serious puncher, as well as Kudryashov. So this is a type of fight where I think anybody that's watching the fight is going to be expecting a knockout. You know, these are just two guys that their history tells us that both guys are going to be looking for the KO. Okay, it is what it is. But just from what I see from Yunier Dorticos, to me, he is more reliant on his jab than Kudryashov is. You know, Kudryashov, to me, he does use the jab, but the thing is, he's kind of slow with the jab. He doesn't really pull it back to his face. He tends to throw it towards his opponent's body, and he's walking forward while throwing the jab, but that leaves him open to counters. I mean, a big example of that would be his first fight against Yunier Dorticos, which is his only defeat on his record. You know, he came forward, he was letting his hands go looking for the KO. He hurt Dorticos. He had Dorticos up on the ropes, but Dorticos realised that while Kudryashov's coming forward, he's not defending himself. He's not even thinking about defending himself. Okay, the guy's just a hunter in the ring. So, you know, Dorticos was able to put punches together and was able to get himself a TKO, because he was just, you know, he just beat Kudryashov's head in. I mean, Kudryashov, he didn't really seem to have a plan B. You know, his plan A is to come forward and knock you the fuck out. And, yeah, there's no plan B. There isn't really you know, he doesn't really have any idea how to defend himself when he's under pressure. You know, when he's got an opponent that's the aggressor against him, that's got him backed up on the ropes, he just seems to kind of go into his shell a little bit. And I suppose you could say in the rematch with Dorticos, he did address that, because what I noticed about the Dorticos rematch was when Dorticos would open up on Kudryashov and would try and overwhelm him like he did the first time, Kudryashov, rather than lean back and go into his shell, he decided to throw with Dorticos. So, you know, he capitalized on being the bigger puncher by catching Dorticos in the middle of combinations. I mean, there was a moment in that fight, I believe it was towards the end of the third round, where Dorticos was opening up on Kudryashov and starting to get the better of the action, but then Kudryashov caught him between a combination with a massive left hook. and after he landed that left hook, Duradola's mouthpiece went flying outside the ring. I mean, that's how hard Kudryashov hits, man. Particularly with the left hook. To me, the left hook is his danger shot. You know, that to me is that's going to be his money shot here. You know, if he can get that left hook into play, he can really do some serious damage, because you know he just seems to really get the right amount of leverage behind that punch. You know, it's kind of like Vladimir Klitschko's left hook. You know, when Vladimir Klitschko would land a left hook at the right time, he would put guys to sleep too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm reminded of like the Ray Austin fight and the Eddie Chambers fight, for example, where, you know, the left hook just seemed to be Vladimir's money punch. And I think it's a similar story with Kudryashov. That certainly is his best punch. But Dorticos, to me, Dorticos seems to have a bit more of a punch variety. I mentioned before he's got a very good jab when he uses it. Obviously, he's from that Cuban school of boxing, so he's very, he's obviously seen a lot of styles from coming up from that Cuban amateur school, and he obviously understands about the fundamentals. He understands about how to use a jab, how to move. He's got pretty good movement for a cruiserweight. That's one thing I will say about Dorticos. I mean, I watched his fight against Yuri Kalenga recently, and one of Kalenga's biggest problems in that fight, particularly later in the fight, was when Dorticos would be on the back foot. And, yeah, he couldn't really do much with him. I mean, it was a fairly competitive fight. It's just that when Dorticos decided to take a step back and step in with the jab, Kalenga didn't really seem to have much of an answer for it. So I think Dorticos against Kudryashov, I think he's gonna be very cautious. I mean, obviously he's gonna be cautious. Okay, if you watch footage of Dmitry Kudryashov and you're going in to fight the guy, obviously you're gonna be very wary of that power early on. And I think that Dorticos, despite being a knockout puncher himself, I think he's gonna want to be, he's gonna want to be more tactful than usual here, because obviously with how heavy-handed Kudryashov is, what you want to do is kind of defuse the bomb, stay away, hang around on the outside, throw jabs, and try and make Kudryashov walk into those jabs. And then once Kudryashov starts to slow down, which he will, because I've never really been that impressed by Kudryashov's stamina. I've seen him look quite tired in fights. I've seen him look, very slow-footed and a bit lethargic. And I just think that if he can't get Dorticos out of there in the first half of the fight, I think that Dorticos, with his experience of having gone to the later rounds before, and having more experience than Kudryashov, I just think that Dorticos will be the fresher guy in the later rounds. I think he has the better boxing skill. I mean, if you look at the Kalenga fight, for example, in the 10th round of that fight, and that was a pretty fast-paced fight. I mentioned the fight earlier. Dorticos was the much fresher guy in the later rounds, and he was still hitting very hard in the 10th round. So clearly, Dorticos is a guy who knows how to carry his power late in fights, whereas Kudryashov, I'm not all that sure if he can carry his power late in fights, because he's a guy who, for the most part in his career, gets his opponents out of there early. I mean, I mentioned in my prediction video for the Kudryashov-Duradola rematch, I mentioned how if Kudryashov were to face somebody like Mairis Briedis, for example, there'd be a lot of uncertainty there, because Mairis Briedis was able to outbox Duradola and then stop Duradola in the 10th round. So clearly Mairis Briedis had shown that he can carry his power late into fights. He'd shown that he had that kind of stamina, whereas Dmitry Kudryashov hasn't shown that level of stamina to me. I don't know if he can punch as hard in the 10th round as he could in the 5th round against Duradola. So if he didn't get Duradola out of there as quick as he did last time, then you never know. He might have been in problems, because he hasn't shown that kind of stamina to me yet. So yeah, this is going to be a great fight. It's going to be explosive. But I think that Yunier Dorticos, with his better experience of going late into fights, with his better jab, his movement, because he has much quicker feet than Kudryashov, and I really should have specified that earlier, that the big advantage in movement here and foot speed certainly seems to be with Dorticos. I think he's going to outbox Kudryashov, but don't quote me on that, because obviously, look, guys, this is the kind of fight where both guys have got the power to knock the other guy out. If Kudryashov goes out there in the first round and lands the kind of left hook on this guy that he landed on Santiago, for example, he could put this guy to sleep. He could. I mean, look, he has that kind of power. Another thing that I don't really think I've talked about in the video yet is I don't know how Kudryashov is going to perform outside of Russia, because he's never actually fought outside of Russia before. And if you look at his record, every single fight's been in Russia. So, you know, going over to America, obviously it's going to be a different atmosphere, different weather, different setup, different kind of crowd. You know, the crowd's probably going to be on Dorticos' side. I'm sure there's going to be a big Cuban contingency there. So you never know how Kudryashov will handle the pressure of going overseas. I mean, some fighters really don't handle it well. So yeah, that's another thing to think about. But either way, I favour Dorticos to win the fight. I think he should be the favourite. However, I think Kudryashov certainly has a puncher's chance. I think he's the heavier-handed of the two. I mentioned both guys are knockout punchers, but I think if either guy hits harder, it's Kudryashov. So if he has any advantage in this fight, it's power. So he's going to need to get to work really quickly in this fight. He's going to need to get to the body. He's going to need to wear this guy down and try and take him out as quick as possible, because I really don't know if Kudryashov can carry his power late. So anyway, it's a great fight. This tournament is looking fantastic so far. I want to do a video for the upcoming Murat Gassiev versus Krzysztof Wlodarczyk fight. However, that fight hasn't been announced a venue yet, so I really don't know what to say about that one. I don't know where it's going to be taking place. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.